You agree, then? Peter regarded Dustin disdainfully with his arms folded. Of course. Dustin nodded. Since you look so confident. I'm curious to see how good you are. However, I hope you don't regret your promise later. Good. I'll show you how lacking your traditional medicine is compared to modern medicine. Peter smirked smugly. He pulled a vial of green liquid from his case and explained. See this? This is the newest antidote my team developed. Within 30 minutes, the patient will wake up again. Good luck. Dustin's response was simple. Look closely. This is the power of science, Peter exclaimed before slowly injecting the green drug into Hector's body. After 10 minutes, the unconscious man began to react. Sweat beaded Hector's forehead, his limbs began warming up, and the blue discoloration in his skin began to recede as his condition began to improve. It's working. It's working. Jessica and Ruth were over the moon to see the changes. As expected of a leading medical professor from abroad, the effects of such a small action were amazing. Do you see this, Rhys? This is Dr. Peter's skills. One vial was enough to deal with a complicated issue you couldn't deal with. Quentin grinned. That's just a temporary fix. It won't fix the root cause. Dustin replied indifferently. You sure are as stubborn as a mule. Quentin humphed. Western medicine is all about science while traditional medicine is nothing but tricks. How could you ever win? Peter grinned smugly. You're incredible, Dr. Peter, Jessica praised. What do you think, Jessica? The person I asked for help is good, isn't he? Trent smiled softly. Thank you so much, Trent. I don't know what I'd do without you. Jessica lowered her head. Don't mention it. We're a family, after all. Trent waved her off. The annual family gathering is tomorrow. As the head of the family, Hector will have to host the event, so make sure he takes care of himself. I will. Jessica nodded her head. Hey, Rhys, it's time to keep up your end of the bargain, Quentin yelled. From today onwards, you're a liar who can't ever practice medicine again. Got it? We don't know who the winner is yet. Aren't you speaking too soon? Dustin retorted. Just look at the evidence. Are you trying to go back on your word? Quentin sniggered. Open your goddamn eyes and see how your uncle is doing. Dustin gestured with his chin. Huh. Quentin turned around to see that Hector's condition had worsened. His skin, which had seen some improvement earlier, had turned blue once more. Why is this happening? Hasn't he been cured? Quentin paled. Dr. Peter, what's happening? Jessica frowned, her earlier happiness quickly turning back to worry. That's odd. He was fine just now. Peter noted, puzzled. Maybe the dosage was too low. Let me inject another vial. He pulled out another vial from his case and administered the drug once more. The results were the same. After a temporary improvement, Hector's skin and lips would turn blue and purple. And his limbs would turn stiff again. Instead of improving, his condition seemed to worsen further. Dr. Peter, didn't you say that everything was fine? Why is this happening? Jessica's eyes had turned hostile. That's odd. We've tested our antidote multiple times. There's no way it would fail. Peter began feeling slightly nervous as well. What now? Jessica demanded with a frown. This place is too poorly equipped. There's nothing better I can do. Peter answered seriously. So you turned out to be useless after all? Jessica's face darkened further. The person she thought was her husband's savior turned out to be a quack doctor. Why don't you think of another solution, Dr. Peter? Quentin insisted. It's futile. The technology your country uses is too dated. I can only cure him back in my country. Peter shook his head, feeling proud of his country. Just admit that you can't do it and stop blaming our facilities or technology. Dustin retorted coolly. As if you'd be able to treat something I can't. Peter humphed haughtily. This is the difference between traditional medicine and modern medicine. You need all sorts of equipment, but we only need our hands and some silver needles, Dustin replied calmly. Nonsense. Do you think you're God or something? Peter looked at him dubiously. As one of the best doctors in the world, he despised frauds like Dustin. I have no idea if God can do it, but I'm sure I can. Dustin answered. Fine. Go ahead. Let's see how quack doctors like you treat patients. Peter flushed with anger. Exactly. What's the point of saying all that? You need to treat Uncle Hector first. Quentin echoed along. All right. I'll show you. Dustin unbuttoned Hector's shirt and drew out his silver needles. After studying Hector's body carefully, he pricked several of the man's vital pressure points, most of which were gathered around his midsection. When all the needles were in place, he flicked one finger, and the dozens of needles began vibrating at a high frequency. Soon, dark blood tricked out of where the needles were placed and slowly gave way to a steady stream of vibrant red. Then, Dustin took out a pill and stuck it into Hector's mouth. When the man's stomach began grumbling, Dustin slapped his palm on his midsection. Instantly, Hector sprung up and spat out a mouthful of darkened blood, which fell to the floor with a sizzle. Everyone in the room was shocked when they saw a cluster of wiggling, red maggots swimming in the pool of blood. It was a frightening sight. What's going on? The crowd exchanged puzzled glances. No one could have expected Hector to have so many maggots in his stomach. This is the mystic poison I was talking about. Do you believe me now? Dustin slowly let out his breath and turned to Jessica. Jessica frowned but said nothing. How did you do that? Peter gaped at Dustin in awe. After throwing up the mouthful of dark blood, Hector's complexion had returned to normal, and his breathing finally evened out, seeming to be fine now. This is traditional medicine. You'll never understand it. Dustin stated indifferently. Peter blushed in embarrassment, not expecting the ordinary doctor he mocked to be so skilled. Was this the power of traditional medicine?